Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and WCG Canada Finals here in Montreal live. Of course, joining me online from Vancouver, British Columbia, is Rifkin. Rifkin, how are you today?
Well, I'm all right. Really not quite in Vancouver, but close to it, I
Oh,
guess.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to give him the easy way of just like, this is where he is, sort of.
Yeah, I'm in the
What's the
vicinity, so yeah, you're right in that respect.
I do apologize. What's the name of your hometown, if you don't mind me asking?
It is Langley, BC, aka Langhole.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Now we're going to jump into this game here. And, of course, down in the bottom right-hand corner, sponsored by Asus, but currently teamless. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Desro.
And of course, if you want to hit this fine young Canadian up, you can find him on Twitter at Desro Fighting. His opponent sadly has no Twitter, no social media. I asked him before this, no Facebook, no nothing. So I guess he really is like the evil clone here. Up here in the top left, it's the Terran player, Death Row. And I'm going to specifically try and pronounce it like that, otherwise we're going to be saying Desro into Death Row. Death Row coming in with the engagement.
Desro's going to attack Death Row, and then Death Row's going to... Wait a minute. Wait, no. Yeah, I could see this becoming a huge problem. So we will try to pronunciate the difference as clearly as we can so that you, the viewers, will understand what the heck we are talking about. And
I'm really sad right now. I'm sorry. I'm just going to throw this out because someone in the chat brought it up, and it's worth noting. Do you remember that game we cast yesterday where it's like 50 minutes, no air units, Immortals versus tanks?
It was awesome.
I think it's safe to say that we'll not be revisiting that game, that style in this series.
No, I don't think we will be doing it. It's very unfortunate. No. I hope and hopefully we get more games like that. That was a great game to cast, but it was absolutely insane. Somebody please make a void ray. But anyway, at the end of the day, we do have Desro scouting out. Everything looking fairly standard out of him so far. Nothing too crazy. Not grabbing a fast second gas just quite yet. On the flip side, of course, is Death Row. It looks like he's going to go for a Reaper opener.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, I would be surprised if we saw the Engineering Bay block this time, because, of course, there's no SCV across the field. So just going to play it really safe, not at all aggressive in the slightest, but not actually opening with a Reaper. Just going for that quick reactor even. Oh, this... If Death Row...
Reactor Reapers?
No, he's not doing any of that. He's just going to get the factory to follow us. But if Desro, sorry, I'm already messing up the names, had chronoed out a Zealot, if he had gone for like an 11 gate and just chronoed out 2 Zealots, he would have just won the game. Like, that simple. Because Death Row is playing this, not exactly in a way that you could classify as greedy, because there's no economy associated with this, but the reactor before a single unit on the field. No command center in suit. Like, he's playing this in a way that's going to push, but perhaps not be effective. If he's going to do anything, I mean, it is going to be, okay, it's going to be Reactor Reapers. I don't like this at all. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's not the best play in the world. Unless you can clear a lot of workers out with those Reapers, I don't think it's the best play out there. I mean, the goal of Reapers early, typically in TVP, is to get good scouting information, right? And
it's Belshire. I mean, look at the limited area those Reapers are going to have to even get into the main. All Desro has to do is position his Mothership Core in the north of the ramp, a Stalker in the south of the ramp, and Bob's your uncle. He's good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Desro expanding outside this, he's probably pretty happy about that. Of course, he has to take care of I think there was an eBay in there that ultimately did get blocked, being very consistent with the game. And actually the Reaper's completely turning around, going to take care of this probe. And then they're probably going to head on down and do some scouting. But the potential for harass is quickly diminishing because there is that Stalker, there is that Mothership Core. And even a Zealot actually at the top of the ramp to try and help take care of that. And Desro is very much well positioned to take care of these Reapers. They're not going to get many kills, if any, at all.
Yeah, and this is kind of like why go for the reactor quickly like this. I mean, if you're going to dedicate to, like, there are builds, don't get me wrong, guys, there's builds that actually involve like 4 racks and a reactor, so you can get like 5 Reapers at a time, but this is not one of them.
No, this is not, and trying to engage the Stalker.
Really greedy with that Reaper. No reason to come back with that.
No, definitely not. And scouting information pretty much denied, did not get into the main at all.
Oh, 1 health of the Reaper.
It gets away, yep.
And I think I hear the French casters making the same noise as I am.
They are. You're like, you can do it. Anyway, did the Reaper? Oh, the Reaper did die. Mothership Core got him.
Yeah. Oh, Widowmine is coming up behind this. There's Marines in the bunker at home.
No,
Death
it wasn't the
Row is
mothership.
not a bad position, but he's opened this game in a very peculiar manner.
Very, very peculiar. He does have the bunker up front. That's going to help him a little bit, but he doesn't exactly have a lot of units. And that mothership core...
There's more than enough to shoot this away.
Yeah, there's enough to shoot that away. That's right. I didn't see those last 3 Marines on the left-hand side, but the mothership core is going to get shoot away, but there's just not a lot of meat and potatoes here. And Desro, I think he's looking pretty good here. He's definitely in a good position. He has been able to scout his opponent reasonably thoroughly, and he'll continue to do that. He'll probably hallucinate some Phoenixes in the very near future or something along those lines to be able to get some good base scouting. But he's expanded out. He's starting to get his economy up and driving, taking a look at the workers tab. This is where he's really pulling ahead. 34 to 29 workers, now 35 to 29 workers, and it will continue to do so. And, of course, along with all that additional economy comes additional units.
Yeah, Chrono Boost is really cool when it comes to things like this where you just need to get things out in the field ASAP.
I should point out, he's been doing this entire build so far off of just 1 gate and 1 robo. All the scouting that he's been doing is being able to allow him to basically spend all of his economy on workers, on Nexus, on establishing these bases, getting them up and running, and having this healthy economy. Where if we do take a look up in Death Row's base, he has basically a 1-1-1, and now he's expanding out with another barracks. He's getting that additional CC. But he's kind of had to balance, I guess, because of the fact that he has had less scouting, he's had to spend more economy on offensive and defensive units.
And the medevac just got spotted by the probe. I mean, there's already cannon here, so it wasn't going to be an issue in the first place, but really unfortunate for Death Row. Just can't find any room against Des right now. But actually, he does. In the natural, left undefended are these probes.
And indeed, and in the natural is getting... Oh, my dear, it's going to be a probe BQ. If he can kill enough of these, he's going to be in great shape. Nice force field pinning down a couple of these Hellbats. Photon overcharge going down there. Meanwhile, the Stalkers are going to get sniped off by the one shot by the Widowmine.
That's actually kind of a mistake on Destro's part, too. Really shouldn't lose any Stalkers. He had the vision on the Widowmine. Lost his workers. I mean, that wasn't devastating. It's not the end of the game, but Desro could have handled that a lot better in both respects, I feel. Yeah,
workers killed 8-0, of course. Economically, though, it kind of balances out. There's 750 resources lost for Desro, and Death Row losing 1,031. So, not the best return on all of those Hellions as well as that drop, but at the same token, did get a couple workers, killed off some army supply, and just taking a look at the units tab, there's 2 Stalkers and 1 Zealot, as opposed to the 6 Marines and 1 Hellion, which will rapidly change, of course.
Yeah, I like the Templar Archives coming out quick in the desert, too. I mean, this might be for Archons if he's forced to take an earlier fight, but if he can just hold off and get those Storms out on the field, you and I yesterday saw how devastating Storms can be to any type of Terran player, mech and bio alike.
Yep, indeed. And that's always a good choice. Storm is so good against bio, and Desro is good at executing them. That's the big thing. Third base is going down for both players. The Nexus did go down a little bit sooner, and he's going to, of course, Desro is going to get some additional economy out of that a little bit faster. Charge also going down. Do you think he might just use it as a bit like a charge lot Archon and then switch over to Storms, or maybe just have a bit of both where he's got a bit of High Templars along with those Archons to soften them up so the Archons can finish them off?
You typically don't go Archons early unless you're forced to. And oh dear, is my game crashing? Do you hear me still?
I can hear you just fine, actually, and so I will just continue on. I'm not sure if
there we
you're
go.
able to continue
It
to
caught
follow.
up. I don't know. It hung for a second there. I don't know what just happened, but at any rate, what I was saying, my bad about that, guys. You typically don't go Archons early unless you're forced to. If there's a big Bioforce encroaching on you, your Storm's not even started, yes, you go Archons because it's what's necessary, but in general, Archons are not great in low numbers, and there's no point building low numbers of Archons for no reason.
And it looks like some Marines, Marauders, as well as a healthy supply of Medevacs as well are pushing their way down towards that third base location. And Hallucinated Phoenix is going to scout it and see what's up. Desro should be able to adjust immediately. He is transferring over his High Templar on down. He's pulling back his forces in front of his third. He is going to have to defend. He shouldn't have any major problems holding this. Storm is done. That's the big one, like we just said. He'll be in fine shape. Nice scan there before he moves on in. And let's see how much damage can get done. Good engagement here. Marines, Marauders.
Storm, a little bit too greedy. He's like 4 energy away from the Storm. The Photon Overcharge goes down, but the army's just running right away from it.
Yeah, they're going to snipe down a lot of these Stalkers. Going to continue working away.
There's no additional overcharge. This Natural's in a lot of trouble. It was used in the main, and the drop of the main has not been cleaned up yet.
No, and Storm's still not going down. Desro opting to continue to wait and take his time. Mothership Core is going to provide some additional help. Again, actually flying back into the Photon Overcharge on top of it. He's going to drop off his forces, but this is kind of just throwing away units because there's just not enough there to take care of the Nexus. One of the medevacs does drop, and the other one does too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the drop from, or I shouldn't even call it the drop because he kind of walked it in. The attack from Death Row, definitely not nearly as effective as he wanted it to. The main one, the drop in the main, if he could have sniped off a building, and I'm talking like a robo facility or something to stifle the production of Desert would have been really great. But as we see here, Death Row with 3 bases worth of economy, a lot of production on the field. He's not exactly in a bad spot. I'd love to see more racks get up. I feel his production's a little on the low side as he opted to make a lot more tech labs than reactors. So until he gets this production running, it's going to be really hard to just start throwing units away.
He's playing really, really well. I've got to give it to him. 60 army supply to 47 in the favor of Death Row. And then also, likewise with his worker count, 75 to 69. So he's able to hold it together. But there is a good poke of some Zealots up in the third base, just kind of warping off that right-hand pylon on the side of the map. And they're going to continue to work away on this bunker.
Oh. Yeah, it's just now finishing up. Marine needs to hop on in there so they can get... Oh, actually, he's still going to attack him, but needs to repair the bunker. Can't afford to lose this. It will go down. No, and now the cells will slaughter the Marines.
There is a drop going on down in the natural as well. Multiple points of contact going on. Zealots are going to start hacking away, but there's a good number of Marines and Marauders focusing down that Immortal very, very quickly as well. However, these Zealots are just...
Cyber Core. That's such a big deal. We got Blink being invested in right now, and his opponent won't be able to make... Des Row will not be able to make Stalkers.
No, he won't, and that is actually a bit of a big issue. He's going to have to wait quite some time before he can get that back. He won't be able to chase out medevacs very, very easily. There was a poke on the left-hand side, a bit of a drop that was cleared out by a very large Zealot army of Death Row. Death Row is going to retreat at this point now. Yes, these names are quite brutal.
I really wish Death Row would have finished off that Robo facility before he got out, because this is going to allow the continued production of Immortals. And as we see the Colossus, the Robo Bay, which wasn't started until after this attack, would not actually be able to be constructed at all if the Robo facility didn't exist. So I feel not finishing that building off may have been the worst thing about that drop.
Yep, indeed, and charge lots are going to take care of the small drop, clear them up, and actually they're going to pick up and fly on over. Is he going to be able to continue along with that harassment that he was able to do earlier? Not with a small force like this, I don't think so. But that being said, I got to still say Death Row is still ahead in army supply. Major drop going on the left-hand side. Is he able to focus down this third? If he could take this, this would be huge.
Well, Desert's already starting a fourth, so he can just transfer his probes elsewhere for the time being. But it is nice getting that base. It's a huge accomplishment as far as trying to shut Desert down. But as we see, that leftmost base is already halfway done.
Indeed, he's going to drop off the units he does have. They are going to get chased out of position here as well, but there's another drop going on in the main as well. Going to continue to work away on these targets of opportunity. I would let you, like you say earlier, you'd like to see him go for that robotics facilities.
Lose it. There we go.
Yep, that's great. And he's going for these pylons as well, unpowering a lot of units. And does he get a supply block out of it? Yes, he does. And this is going to be looking very, very bad for Desro. Death Row in a very good commanding lead right now. And if he can snap the Templar Archives, he does, and he's going to get out of there.
I mean, Dark Shrine's coming up, but who cares about a Dark Shrine? Storms are so much more important. Storms are the bigger threat here.
Indeed, and the fourth base getting sniped as well. Death Row just pulling back and forth and doing such an amazing job of damage on Desro. I mean, Desro's not out of it, but he's behind. He's still supply block, waiting on a pylon to finish up. 137 supply to 174 in favor of our green Terran at the top of the map. And you can actually see he's throwing down additional command centers. He's keeping his money low. He's keeping his gas low. He's doing a great job doing all that. DTs, though, went behind.
Yeah, it can really work well, especially because as we see, Death Row is only just now getting turrets up around his bases. And it's as a reaction to the Dark Templar, not preemptively. So he doesn't have a whole lot of detection on the field. Yes, he can burn scans, but you never really want to if you can avoid it.
Oh, indeed.
And a cool little move there did an EMP to reveal the ghosts, or reveal the stealth rather. A lot of people don't know it does that.
No, that is true. And additionally, another DT is also working away, clearing away some of the units up in the third base. Unfortunately, workers have been pulled out of there as well. That is going to get mopped up. And in fact, in that case, he did opt to use the EMP, like you had mentioned, using the energy on the Ghost. And like you say, maybe not the best choice, especially when it comes to Ghost, because those EMPs are so good at dropping the shields of other units. And there is, again, another DT in that fourth base. I've got to ask, like, yeah, Death Row knows there's a pylon there. I'm surprised he hasn't killed it yet.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. That's going to come back to bite on my tail. But here comes an engagement in the middle of the map. There are a lot of Zealots, and luckily, a lot of Marines and these Ghosts will fare well against the Zealots. But sadly, those two Colossus and Storms are going to be a big thing to worry about because this Bio Army is very fragile. 55 health on each of these Marines, 80 damage per Storm. Oh, God, everything's just getting annihilated right now.
Just so much melting going on. Many of them were loaded up in the medevac, saving them a little bit of damage, but getting on out of there. He's going to continue to push on forward. Nice EMPs going down, softening up all of those Zealots. This is going to push Desro back a little bit. 2-2 upgrades having completed for a Terran player, whereas Desro, on the other hand, does have that 2-3 upgrade advantage, at least for the short period of time. Production on the other side of things reveals that a +1 attack has been started for a Terran friend, Death Row, and then at the same token, does look like we're going to get Protoss shields also being researched. So kind of balanced with regards to upgrades. I'd like to see actually one of these players kind of really jump ahead. But the Colossus count is starting to climb. And this is going to be a bit scary a little later on once these numbers start to jump up there. There's no Vikings. I'm just noticing that. There's very few.
Slow, but it's not the threat of the Colossus that's the real problem here. It's all those Templar that are on the field behind them. As we can see, you just stem forward and you can take out a couple out, but here are these Zealots pushing forward. I mean, he's now getting 3 Vikings at a time, and they will be an addition to this army, make no mistake, but of course he's been so focused, so tunnel visioned on the Templar this whole game. That's why we don't see a big count.
No, indeed, and there's also multiple engagements going on. There's, of course, this main engagement we're watching right now. There is a drop going on the left-hand side of the map. It has taken care of the Nexus, but back over on the right-hand side of things, these command centers are getting killed off. They're nice little targets of opportunity. Desro must be quite pleased taking care of them as well, but it looks like he's in a very commanding position as well. I'm just taking a look at actual army size. The 4 Colossus, and there's an Archon, of course, a number of Stalkers, and there are 10 Stalkers and a couple of High Templar. But realistically, there's no major army, no standing army for the most part. They're all hidden back in the natural. There's only a handful of Marauders, some Vikings, and some Marines. SCVs are getting pulled off here for defensive purposes as this very large Protoss Death Ball moves towards the natural.
Missile turret's actually going to deter the Colossus for a moment. It sounds weird to say, but it is precisely why Desmond decided to go for the third base instead. It's also more exposed, so it doesn't have to worry about taking casualties. Templar are still just garnering some energy right now. I mean, the Colossus are big, they're scary, but these Storms could annihilate everything in just one bad instance.
Yep, indeed, and there's also still a drop going down. This has been a continued harassment by Death Row. He's taken care of the third base. He's dropped that, killed off the Nexus. He's going to try and kill off the natural as well. He's going to pick up and fly up into the main, drop off the 2 Marauders there as well. Meanwhile, that being said, Desro is going to continue to trade with Death Row. And it looks like he's just going to back off for just a moment, recharge the shields, take it easy for a minute. But that is going to buy Death Row a little bit of time to remax up his army. And
yeah, and remember, this base never went down. It's still the planetary. It's still mining. He's just dropping these fresh mules. Losing the upper right base sucked, but now he's going to have to worry about defending this. He can't really afford to lose this base. If he does, he has no income.
No, he'll be in a lot of trouble. And there's a lot of large amount of forces Colossus are raining in. They're actually targeting down the SCVs. But they're actually going to have to back on up here because the forces of Death Row are coming down to try and help on out.
Those Vikings, finally, after being 3 at a time, are enough to start one-shotting these Colossi. Or actually, they're not. They're just barely shy, but some EMPs might change that.
That is enough, though. Desro is going to back right on up here. Death Row going to push back on down. He can take that. Oh, he does see the Dark Templar. There's 2 of them. And he's going to have to continue to try and engage that. Nice storm going down. 2 nice storms.
Oh, Vikings going to eat those storms, though. Something they can't really afford to do right now.
No, indeed, but supplies still very
well. Nightshade. There's like almost no medevacs on the field because of the Viking production. He's trying to get those medevacs up, but all this army that just finished eating the storms, look at that. It's not getting recuperated. It's not getting healed. Medevacs just now popping out.
No, he's going to be in rough shape, and if Desro can ever recognize this and attack during that period while all of those units are horribly low on health, he'll be in great form indeed. He's just finally retaken his 3rd. Meanwhile, the entire time, Death Row has been expanded out on that right-hand side, continuing to mine. His 3rd is up and running. Economically, things looking very good for our Green Terran player. However, that planet's here.
Sneaking in. Gonna kill a lot of these new SCVs.
Oh, yeah. How many does this guy got? He's got 5 kills already. He's going to try for more.
Oh, dodges the EMP. That's actually really good because now it's a waste of an EMP.
Yep, they're trying to find him.
Death Row is so stubborn to scan. I'm not sure why.
Does he have scans available? I imagine he does.
Oh, he may not actually. He just dropped a lot of mules. Yeah, he's got.
Yeah, no, he has no scans available. That's why. But that DT's not moving, so he doesn't even know exactly quite where it is.
Oh, he's losing the ghost to stalkers though. That's not something you want to trade out. These are such valuable units. They're great against Colossus. They're essential against the Archons and really important versus Templar.
Yes, and the army supply lead is now starting to favor Desra. Our gold Protoss down to the bottom of the map, 107 out of 77, 30 supply lead. Looks like worker supplies evened out though, 44 to 41. So no real major advantage of there. Nice EMPs taking care of those High Templar as well. However, one storm does go down, and they're just going to have to back on up. Archon is going to get formed, but they'll get killed off very, very quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I actually should point out that workers actually got caught up in that mess, and they've actually been sent back over to mine away over that 4th base.
He had initially pulled them to buffer for the army, but yeah, now sending them back, realizing no longer necessary. A couple stalkers going to blink forward, then blink backwards. Oh, you should say blink forward, then blink backwards, whatever.
Yeah, I know what you meant. I think everybody else at home did too. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Desra expanding out with a nice little place nexus, and I kind of get the sense that Death Row wants to move on towards that side of the map to see what kind of damage you can do. Stalkers did blink forward to try and get on over here. They are going to engage these forces, and of course they're going to blink out if they're saying that maybe this is not the fight they want to do. This is a fairly Marauder-heavy army.
Yeah, and the scary thing is the Marauders can actually eat a storm or two. I mean, they still don't have the best health pool in the world, but it's much higher than the 55 of the Marines. So it's not devastating if they end up eating a storm or two. But Marines, they melt so quickly, as we've seen.
Yes, indeed. 3-3 upgrades completed for Protoss, and Death Row, our green Terran, with 3-3 of his own. Nice snipes on these Vikings, really just taking them out of the skies as quick as he can.
Oh my god, those Archons get blanketed with all the EMPs. Only one of them wasn't affected by it, but here come the storms from below. And now there's nothing left to contend with the army on the field. The Immortals will chop through the few Marauders that are left, and now there's just one Ghost running for his life. And he doesn't even have Cloak.
Those storms, excellent. That engagement worked exactly what Desro needed. Death Row is panicking. He is back at the top of his ramp with just Marines, a couple of Vikings, and some medevacs. Realistically, Desro could turn around and just say, hey, you know what, you want to fight me and I'll take you on. But he's going to back up, take it easy for a couple of minutes. But he is such a commanding lead right now. 132 to 70 supply. And I should point out, though, Death Row not afraid to expand despite the fact that he's a little bit behind. He does have that command, or rather that orbital command here that is going to come under fire right now. It's going to go down. There's no way it's going to get out of here in time. There's no reinforcements to support it. Just taking a look at the Army's supply side of things, it's 87 to 41. Literally, Desro has twice the supply.
Yeah, someone who's looking like a lot of trouble in the early game here. Suddenly this is nice commanding lead going into the late game, and GG is called. And that's storms for you. Yeah,
so apparently storms in real life as well as in video games are both bad.
It's been like ridiculously raining for the last couple days here. It's still like a monsoon outside my house right now.
Yeah. Storms, pretty good unit, except in real life. They're pretty bad. But anyway, yeah, how is the weather coming on down there?
I'm still worried about power outages, quite frankly. It's like hella windy and incredibly rainy.
That is unfortunate. Also unfortunate is Desro losing, or rather Desro winning game number 1, Death Row losing, my apologies. And we are going to go to game number 2. This is in the loser's bracket, so the loser of this will be, well, unfortunately eliminated from the tournament. The victor will... I'm sorry?
They'll be out.
They'll be out, and they'll have to go a boot to the car. Anyway, that being said, also at the same token, the victor will move on, and they will play against Jig. And then Henderlisk has already secured his spot in the grand finals. So we'll see who's going to be his opponent. Who is it going to be? Death Row, Desro, or Jig? Don't go anywhere. We're going to do a commercial break. We'll be right back.
know teenagers. They want to be free and famous and like to keep in style.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and ready to go. Game number 2. Desro winning in fine form, but Death Row putting up an excellent fight. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me is Rifkin. Rifkin, how's it going?
It's going okay. Just excited to get back into game 2.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic actually. I think this is going to be great. It's best 2 out of 3. Losers round. The winner goes. The winner goes on. The loser goes home. And Desro, I think he's got his hands full, to be perfectly honest with you. Desro has shown that he can play very, very well, and whether or not Desro can keep up is a different issue. And I think Desro is just kind of getting his feelers out. And do you think that there might be? Let's introduce the players first. I think that's first and foremost. So down in the bottom left-hand corner, ladies and gentlemen, representing Aces very, very well, it is Desro.
And make sure you swap your scenes if you haven't.
My bad. There we go. Let's try that again. Desro, this guy right here. Do you have a Twitter feed for him by chance?
Yes, if you guys want to follow Desro on Twitter, if you want to see more of his action, his Panda Antics, you can find him on Twitter at Desro Fighting. But his opponent, sadly, with no social media outlets whatsoever, I looked into it. It is just the Green Terran player, Death Row.
So
and this is. Well, hang on, I got it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I didn't see this before, but Death Row, looking to put Desro on Death Row.
Oh dear. And of course, Armada Gaming is who he plays for, and I'm sure they've been exceedingly pleased with his performance in this tournament, making
they had
it so far.
a ton of people in this, didn't they?
I'm sorry? Oh yeah, they've got like 7 or 8.
5 players. Yeah, it's something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's piles. Apparently, they're Canadian team, obviously, and yeah, they're representing really, really quite well. And even if Death Row loses right now in this tournament, that would secure him a 4th place finish, and that's actually pretty good considering the competition he's been up against. And that is some really good blockage here by this probe, forcing a Reaper to come on out. And I like this choice better than doing like a reactor Reaper build that Death Row did previously.
Yeah, and on Neoplanet S, Reapers are, again, incredibly inefficient. They work, they'll get the job done, but it's nothing that like an SCV couldn't also do by just moving in early. Now, my big curiosity strikes is Death Row going to let this go to the late game? He just saw that when he was up in the early game. There's no arguing that. Like, he had sort of this, not exactly a tremendous lead, but he was ahead for the majority of the start of the last game. It kind of really fell into Desro's favor when Storms got on the field. Death Row just couldn't take any engagements. Storms and Colossus were too good. I would love to see Death Row, and this is like one of the rare opportunities you'll ever hear me say this about a Terran player. I'd love to see him do some sort of 1-base or hell, most likely a 2-base all-in, and not let it get to that late stage in which he can't fight. A lot of people forget, if you pull SCVs before a Protoss player has a Colossus or Storms on the field, it's actually very near impossible for them to hold you off.
No, it is very, very difficult. Taking a look over here, though, it does look like it is going to be a... Yeah, it's going to be a 1-Rax. Well, it's a Reaper fast expand, but with a reactor thrown in for good measure. And it does look like Death Row, up at the top right-hand corner, is going to be feeling fairly safe as well with that bunker. That being said, I'm just kind of curious to see how much of this has been scouted. All of it, for the most part, save for that expansion. But that's been deduced by Desro as he is expanding himself down in the bottom left-hand corner. And he does, of course, have that mothership core eloquently placed on that high ground portion. So in case that Reaper that is currently being attacked by that Stalker does finally make its way on over it. And it looks like, actually, is it going to... No, it's not going to die.
And unless he walked around and turned away for some silly reason that would make no sense whatsoever. Now, of course, there are 4 Marines in this bunker, so the Stalker can't do much. Can't even walk past it. Desert wanted to walk past it. Initially, misjudged how many Marines were in there. I think he thought there was only one, so that's why he was going for the walk forward. But yeah, in the end, being turned around.
But I think with that, he must be feeling pretty good because I think he did get a scout of the... yes, he did. He got a scout of that command center, so he knows that
but the Reaper in the main is finally going to get taken care of.
But how much scouting information was actually obtained? That's kind of the question. Let's just take a quick look.
He saw both gases. He saw the Robo.
Yep.
The Reaper got his job done. That much is for sure.
Yeah, he's doing great. Did he see the Forge? Yes, he did. So he saw everything. He's going to be feeling pretty good about that. Desro is going to continue to macro up. And likewise with Death Row, both of them are just kind of playing it easy. But it does look like it's going to be, again, a lot of barracks going down before any kind of factory goes down, as well as a third CC. I don't know if I agree with this too much. It's good to get a lot of bio out for defense.
I just don't think looking to play anything towards the macro game is the right choice. I mean, 3CC doesn't necessarily mean he's going for the macro game, but he's not going to be taking third base. And if he does take a third base, that means we're going to be going to the stage of the game where Desro is most comfortable with. He just showed us he can happily play from behind in the late game.
Absolutely, and he has no problems with it. And more so is my concern that if you're going to have a pile of Marines and Marauders, you should always have medevacs with them. I'd almost like to try and see that maybe perhaps one of these barracks be actually a factory instead, so then that way he can actually get a step closer to getting those medevacs out. So in that way he's that much more potent. It almost harkens back to the do you remember the old the MVP 2 racks where you would push out, do a poke, and then you would follow it up with some medevacs as well? Kind of the same concept. You want to make sure that when you're doing those aggressive pushes with bio, that you always support them, at least with 1 or 2 medevacs at first. It's always a good policy because your longevity is there. You kind of need these units to live longer so they could do more damage. And this is something I'm not agreeing too much with Death Row's build.
It's too early of a push. You're meant to have another Marauder with this, but with no Photon Overcharge available at this base, you can actually take on the Stalkers quite handily. The Zealot will not be here in time. Oh, there's a Concussor shell really kicking in. And he may be able to tear this Nexus down, or at least force the cancel.
Yeah, I think he will be able to do that. Desro is going to have to just, he's going to cancel it. He's just going to sit idly by and accept the fact that he can't do anything about it. Does have this mothership core somewhat exposed, but these Marines and Marauders are going to march right on back. Job completed. Medals on their chest because they have incurred 0 losses and 0 health taken.
Yeah, getting third base is actually kind of a big deal in this matchup, especially on a map like Neoplanet. Forces Desperate to go northward with this expansion, which is considerably more open and a lot more drop friendly than the lower bases.
Yeah, and also very hard to defend if you have all your forces defending your third and you just pick up and drop in the natural. You've got a long walk around in order to get to that base and to be able to defend it. So this is unfortunate for Desro. It's good that he's transitioned as quickly as he has.
I love this style.
Yeah,
just to get those quick Templar, it's so good.
It is. It is so good. And there is the Templar Archives in the back of the base. I like how that tech is also hidden. A great deal. Charge on the way, as well as +1 weapons. More gateways as well. Desro really just showing, that he's getting everything. Everything's falling right into place right now. He's basically been left unmolested, save for losing that third base down in the bottom right.
Yeah.
Taking a look. Is there a bit of a poke here? Okay, the probe is showing up. That's going to pull the forces over here in front of the third. Let's take a look at the upgrade side of things. I'm a little concerned about that. I want to see where we're going. We've got, of course, we do have Storm. It's being researched. I like that a great deal. +1 armor also being researched. +1 attack already having been finished. Desert, on the other hand, just as the +1 weapons, do you think you should maybe get another forge just so you can kind of double up and catch up on the upgrades?
I don't know. He will eventually, but I don't like the weapon upgrades first. I think that's great versus Zerg, but against Terran, you need the armor upgrades. Like, it's not just necessary, but statistically better, especially when dealing with lots of Marines. I mean, you throw a Guardian Shield down, you got +1 armor, Marines do half damage to you, but... Alright, Time Warp is going to allow him to catch some of these units, but an Overcharge is going to get popped, and looks like with the Force Field, he'll catch a couple Marauders at the end here. Charge, of course, is done, allowing the Zealots to connect a little bit easier, but... Oh, Mothership Core, Mothership Core, Mothership Core! Ugh.
They die pretty good if you let them. That being said, Desero a little bit behind in the army side of things. Taking a look, 46 to 40. Not that huge, but you can see the DPS of these Marines Marauders and these couple of medevacs really kind of putting Desero in a corner there. And as you can see, he didn't want to chase that out. He won that in that, you know, he didn't lose everything, but he did lose a mothership core. That's unfortunate. But I think in that engagement, he was very happy just having gotten away with minimal casualties incurred. Workers-wise, taking a look at the economy tab, 61 to 58, very close, almost marginal at best there. There is a bit of a poke up with some... up in the third with a couple of zealots, but that being said, this push there has been circumvented. There is a drop going on in the main, nothing there to defend it, nothing even close, and the robo gets sniped, and he's actually going to start taking on units, killing off that. He's going for pylons. Does he go? Oh, big
oh god, he gets the Templar at the end and will be able to get the Archon before it finishes.
Yes, he does, but he's lost so much health in comparison by taking care of that Archon as well as eating those 2 storms. He is going to pick up, get on out of here. I'd like to see him heal these up and maybe drop back on and try to take care of that Cybernetics core. Meanwhile, an engagement at the top of the map also drawing Dezero's attention up. This is the play that we've been seeing out of Death Row, and this drop play being very, very good, pushing and pulling all of the forces. He's going to continue with that engagement, and at the same time, he's also engaging up in the main and the high ground, trying to take care of some of these zealots that are chasing him. He's going to pick up a fly around. If he can only find a place where he can actually drop them off where they're not going to engage.
He's got a pretty good spot so far.
That is a great spot. And again, they're going to get under attack by these zealots. Unfortunately, everything dies except for the medevac, which still has full health. And again, really, another pickup.
I was going to say the drop's coming, but he needs to kill that observer. Look at this. Desero has seen everything coming out of Death Row for the entirety of this game.
Indeed, and in fact, actually, he's got a zealot well placed as well, providing vision. But meanwhile, this drop going down is going to continue to fight against these zealots. They are going to ultimately fall. Another warping of zealots here to try and help take care of things. Death Row doing everything in his power to try and do as much damage as possible. There is a bit of a counter push by a couple of zealots up in the third base of Death Row, but they're going to get killed off by the bunker. Meanwhile, the drop down is going into the base of Desero, is going to get picked up and fly on out and get healed up again.
Yeah, and finally this base to the north is going to go down. There's nothing here to stop it. Death Row eating a big storm, but still nonetheless should be able to knock this down. There are 5 zealots warping. We'll see if it's going to be enough to chase this back. But with some stim and some stutter step, looks like the Nexus will fall.
Yep, and a quick pickup, and he's going to fly right the heck on out of here. And this constant drop play by Death Row is proving to be very, very effective. And Death Row is pulling ahead, 81 to 62.
Oh, the main.
81 to 58.
Oh, the main. There's some Colossus walking into Marauders. They do have to be careful. Going for the Cyber Core. I love the focus fire, and there's no more Stalker Warpins, and more importantly, no more Sentry Warpins. But the Colossus are going to go down. At least one of them does.
I think he could have taken that last Colossus, but killing one of them as well as that Cyber Core. This drop has been excellent. There's a big chase going on.
Archives too. This is critical. He can't afford to lose this. He needs those storms.
He is going to lose it. Has Storm been researched? Yes, it has. But he needs to get the
Templar now.
Yeah, I can't warp in Templar. That's going to be horrible. And is this just basically going back and forth? Death Row desperately trying to get game number 2 so he could stay in this. And so far looking good, but eating too many storms. And he's just going to have to withdraw this force at the north. But meanwhile, these dropships are flying back and forth in the main, trying to find a good spot to land. There is a Colossus chasing them. There is Zealots being warped in. Meanwhile, this engagement continuing on. Oh my goodness, Death Row, Desero, you guys are killing me.
Yeah, the names are definitely a mountain we need to climb. But, you know, Desero has definitely been suffering the damage. I mean, the resources lost don't really reflect accurately just how great of a drop system, rather, that was for Death Row. But he is coming back in here. Still one Marine, one Marauder gonna do what he can. Sacrifices it to the Colossus God. But even so, I mean, picking off that Cyber Core, picking off those Templar Archives, that was magnificent. Because right now, there's no fresh Templar on the field. They're not regenerating energy. Like, you'd want to typically have five or more Templar in your army with, like, you know, maxed out energy right around now. But Dezero's not afforded that opportunity. He can't warp them in just yet.
And that one observer was spotted, sniped, and taken care of. So that little advantage you said earlier on by...
it's still outside the natural.
Oh, outside that, you're talking about that one? Because there was one off to the left. I thought you were referring to that. My bad.
Yeah. Now, the one at the natural, it's positioned so perfectly, because whether something comes down from the north or east from the west, or west from the east, I mean, rather, it's going to get scouted. But observer moves ever so slightly, a little bit scared, I guess. Doesn't want to lose it. Meanwhile, big drop trying to get into the main, but of course there's so many Colossus guarding, no place for them to unload.
No, it is unfortunate. There's, of course, he's trying to do that two-prong attack. He had that force up in the top trying to head on over. There was a spotting zealot there that saw it, and so he had to withdraw it there, but also at the same token, there's that pylon. It is going to die. I do need to point out that I wouldn't be surprised if Death Row expands here at this point. He is capable of doing it. He has the additional orbital commands for the mule call downs, but he does need to transition off this. If he could starve out Desro, then our Green Terran would be in a good shape, but it's a long ways away. That's the problem. Big drop going on now.
Drop in the main, though. Yeah, exactly. Like, starvation's the last thing on his mind. He's got so many drops, so much harass he's had to deal with this whole game. Oh, that bio, it just eats the storm. It doesn't give a good gosh. They're going to stim right forward, going to kill the Colossus. Oh my god, it's going to stop Thermal Lance. Thermal Lance, such a critical upgrade in this matchup, and it does get denied. No, actually, it finished.
No, it did finish.
Oh my god, it finished.
Just
it finished
barely,
at the last
though.
second possible.
Literally just finished in the last second possible, but that being said, that being sniped also means he can't produce Colossus for a good long period of time.
Trying to push, Desro was across the other side of the field, gets picked off by the Vikings, not aware of the count of Death Row, goes in without any stalker support. Storms are laid down, but it's not enough, and Desro is losing his army.
Very, very quickly, Vikings taking out the Colossus, and literally Marauders are hungry for Protoss blood, and they are chasing down these Zealots as well as these Immortals as they are fleeing for their lives to the Nexus. Unfortunately, there is no Mothership Core, there is no Photon Overcharge to keep them safe. They are going to have to turn and fight they will, but a big GG. Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a
Wow.
1-1, which means game 3.
That's how you play StarCraft, people. That's how you do it. I love games like this. Desro losing, Death Row tying it up 1-1. I am so happy because we get to see a game number 3, and only for that reason. Oh, wow, that is so well played. I gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, right there, that game, I don't know. It felt like Death Row was a completely different player. It's the first time I've seen him in this tournament, and Game 1 did not impress me, but Game 2 was like a player Super Saiyan mode, basically. It was the tech snipes that won in that game, hands down, more than anything else.
Easily, that was it. Anyway, that being said, we do have to do a very quick commercial break before we get to game number 3. Will Desro be able to defeat Death Row, or will Death Row be able to continue on with his Terran multi-dropping, tech sniping advantage and continue on with a bit of a winning streak in order to be able to get himself on? Stay tuned. We'll be back with some more WCG Canada Finals in just a moment.
Not bad bands, but they're also very well timed.
see you undead. This is the first time I ever seen you undead. Listen to
Physical strength is no substitute for perception. For perception is the key which unlocks the intangible power of the spirit. You perceive nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are launching. We are good to go. And of course, joining me is Rifkin as we step right into this third game. I'm excited to be a part of this. How are you?
I'm doing great. I haven't looked at the stream, but just out of habit, I'm going to remind you to double check that we're on the in-game screen.
I'm already there. Come on, guys.
Good. Excellent.
Guys.
Let's rock and roll. This is game 3. This is the best of 3, and this is the deciding game, ladies and gentlemen, for WCG Canada, the losers bracket. The winner of this will go on to fight Jig, and the winner of that will fight Hendrils in the grand finals to see who gets to represent Canada over in China. But spawning here in the lower right corner of the map, he is not on a team. He is his own working man. Sponsored by Asus, it's Desro.
Indeed, and up in the top left-hand corner, taking a game number 2 away from him, and certainly has a very, very good shot of going on forward to take on Jig. Ladies and gentlemen, is Death Row.
Our Martyr Gaming.
They got
Ever since I made the dumb joke yesterday, I can't not hear it like that.
Armada Gaming.
What's the matter with you?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, I'm gonna die.
All right, one thing that happened last game, we can admire the tech snipes, we can acknowledge the lag, but the reality is, Death Row. Again, I'm trying to differentiate the name here for you guys. Death Row, the Terran player, actually managed to take it to the late game. Something that, quite frankly, I was not expecting to come out of him after watching game 1.
Yeah, I was not surprised. Oh, sorry, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting it either. The big thing that I liked about him that he was able to successfully accomplish were all those tech snipes. The constant back and forth attacks by him were whittling away at Desro's army, but more importantly, he was really picking away those key structures, those robos, the Templar archives, the literally the cybernetics core was getting hit. Everything of good value that he needed to have those really substantial forces were getting completely slaughtered. And I love this very fast supply depot, just trying to keep this probe on from getting out of the base. That being said, SCV is going to continue to scout on out here and get on over towards Desro's base to take a look. But Desro looking pretty standard at this point.
Yes, but Death Row is supposed to go for that fast reaction. That did not work out for him last time. I'm curious in his thoughts behind trying to do it again. Again, this is Accolade Waste. If he's going to go for Reapers, this is not the map to do it on.
No, unfortunately it's not. A good map is, Star Station. That's a great map to do Reapers on because there's so much ledge room that you can jump up and down. But this one, if we take a look at Desro's, our gold Protoss down at the bottom right of the map, there's really only this one small cliff which is very easily defended. And in fact, the second layer, the natural, is also easily defended from Reapers for the most part. So this is not a ideal
Look
map.
at that. Did you see the spotty bus? Or I don't know if your camera was there.
I didn't.
Death Row is playing with Desro. He keeps lowering it, and then as the probe gets close, he raises it at the last second. See, look, there he goes. Does it again. Like, just wait for the probe to come back. But the Reaper will actually kill it this time, so he's done playing with his food.
Yeah, I was
First blood.
I wish they would implement that. That would be a great mod if they could implement it back into StarCraft. I think some other stuff that they should be able to do with StarCraft that I think would be absolutely phenomenal, besides having mods where you can insta-till. Let's say, for example, somebody else has a mod, for example, a skin on a unit that you may not like. For example, the new Zerglings, for example. You have the
wings.
The wings. It's really hard as a caster to be able to look at that and go, he has this many Zerglings when you have that many wings flying around. So it becomes difficult to kind of do a quick guesstimate as to what's going on. So it'd be nice if you could actually turn off that function. It's nice that other players can have it, but it should be an option that you could turn off in the settings, where you can turn off like little mods or even tweak little mods so you can put badging on units or whatever the case may be. So that being said, natural taken very quickly by Desro. It is of course protected very well by this Mothership Core and Stalker, and he is going to continue on with that same build as before, grabbing a forge, grabbing that robotics facility on one gate, not looking to do any crazy early pressure here. But the Reapers have an awfully hard time getting in to do some scouting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Protoss is the only race where the faster you take and expand, the easier it is for you to defend. Any other race, it just makes it vulnerable. But thanks to the Mothership Core's photon overcharge ability, getting the Nexus down faster means it can be a lot easier to defend.
Yeah, this is an issue of contention for a lot of people, but I don't really want to get into too much balance talk in this particular series, this tournament. You try to avoid that, right? But it is changed the game, the dynamic. I love the fact that Protoss no longer has to really kind of turtle up too much early in the game in order to be able to do expansions and such, and allows them to be able to do those fast expanses, and makes for really good gameplay as a result of that. So that being said, we do take a look again. I gotta say, Death Row going for that heavy bio production facilities first, not getting any kind of medevac. He's not even going towards medevac yet. He's not even thinking of it. He doesn't even have a factory started.
Desra's just going for a straight counter to massive racks on the field too. Just going straight to Colossus, skipping upgrades for the tank. Well, he's getting his armor upgrades, but I mean, he's going to have Zealots with armor to tank the Colossus that are going to shred everything to bits. And Death Row is going to be in a lot of trouble if he doesn't scout this. This Reaper has to make it to the main. He has to know that Colossus are coming out quickly. And looks like he will be the savior of the day. Or not.
Oh no.
Okay, there, he scouts it. He confirms it.
He does indeed scout it, so he's going to get the information. He knows what's up. He sees the fast upgrades as well. It's the armor this time around, as you were mentioning previously. Armor certainly more valuable, and then +1 weapons attack. And you're absolutely right. In Zerg, in PvZ, having your Zealots have that additional +1 attack means that they could 2-swipe as a Zergling, whereas with
PvT, it's a lot more important to take those extra hits, to survive another volley of marine fire.
You don't really need to be able to do that extra 1 hit point or 2 hit points of damage. It's about absorbing fire. So, because you're not going to kill the unit any quicker with a Zealot with +1 or 0.
Especially if you can't connect to it.
That's the big one, exactly. Survivability being very important. A very fast third being taken here by Death Row. I like seeing this. It's a great play. He had that CC go up. He's going to get it down. It's also very defendable. I like Akalon because of the fact that for Terran, they can put tanks at this high ground where the skeleton is and really kind of cover both bases for the most part. And it's a great defensible position if he had tanks. Unfortunately, Death Row prefers to use the bio play, but he'll be able to transition and stim back and forth very, very easily. Desro, I don't think he's identified that there is an expansion going. No, he does know about it. There is an observer there.
A bit of a problem is the fact that this observer, as pointed out, if you recall back to New Planet S, that one initial observer did stay in front of the base for such a long time and let Des Row see everything Death Row had coming. But even with that knowledge, he wasn't able to stop him. So this observer is going to be really nice. But if we look here, there's one of those preemptive turrets. So if that observer gets greedy and goes towards the natural, it will get sniped off.
Yes, indeed. So it's a matter of just where is he going to position it. It still is there. It's not being moved. There is a warp prism over here on the right-hand side of the base of that third. Looks like Desra's planning on doing something. He's warping in a couple of units in there, some Zealots to complement the other one that's in there. He does have a nice force of Colossus. Is there Vikings anywhere to help defend against this?
There's 3 coming at a time, but even then, it's... when you go for Colossus early like this, even if you're putting at 6 Vikings, that's still not really enough.
No, you need a lot of Vikings. 4 to 5, they say, for each Colossus helps drop them very, very quickly. Drop going on in the main. Has it been seen? Well, it has been by now because the workers have been pulled, but a couple of them are getting pinned and cornered. Vikings are going to take care of that warp prism and push it out of the base here.
It runs faster than Vikings now. A lot of people don't remember that. It's once upon a time the Viking could catch it, but ever since we got that patch upgrade. SCV's preemptively pulled here, but of course there are Colossus with this composition and some sentries. You can pull those force fields if necessary. But really, if Desra wants, he should go for the third. He sees it. He knows it's open, and that one Zealot warping in will start the damage.
Indeed, getting himself a free kill right off the get-go without any counter. Workers have been pulled. Units have been pulled up to the high ground. The orbital command wisely being lifted and pushed out of position here. Stalkers, Stalkers, 1 Zealot, a couple of sentries, and 3 very mighty Colossus are moving into that formerly occupied position and going, hey, wait, why'd you leave? We just want to be friends. And they're going to take care of a very defenseless Vespene Geyser assimilator.
This attack angle is so much better because now he only fights 1 bunker at a time instead of 3 at once. So with some good force fields, he should be able to knock this down. Looks like he will take that initial bunker down.
Indeed he will, and he's really incurring minimalistic losses here. I would say that Death Row, of course, he's had to evacuate, but realistically, he's not losing too much either. He's on the Luna's loss tab. It's not that favorable. It's 700 resources difference between the 2 players. But realistic right now, with these Colossus able to rip through these bio armies so well.
Be careful. And gets too greedy. You lose the mothership core. That's fine, but he's got to be careful. These Colossus are his heart, his soul, and it's the core of his army. If you lose to the Colossus, he could be out of the game.
Indeed, and these Marauders are doing a lot of damage to these Stalkers and keeping Desro jockeying back and forth, reinforcing off of that Warp Prism. Again, another Colossus shows up for a long walk across the map, and this is just starting to look worse and worse here for Death Row. Desro playing with very good conviction, doing as much damage as he can, but again, backing up, doing another Warp and Cycle of Stalkers to reinforce, and going to push on forward.
Trying to repair the turret desperately.
Yeah, please stay alive. We really need you.
Well, Death Row needs everything right now. As we saw, extra bunkers were placed down, but this leaves so much of the base exposed. Your Marauders on the high ground, those supply depots they had supply called down on them, so they're worth twice as much. Sniping them off is a huge deal.
Indeed, Vikings are starting to get good numbers here, but they're not able to do enough damage.
The kiting, the control, the Colossus backing up away from the Vikings. So well handled here by Desro.
Yeah, he is playing this exceedingly well. He's able to just really pick apart the targets he wants. He's applying pressure on that natural, but at the same token, he's having an awfully hard time breaking the top here, but the Vikings not able to really engage all that well either. Desro's just playing this like a boss.
Link's about to finish, though, and he's going to suddenly be able to start taking these Viking engagements a little bit more effectively. Another warp incoming yard towards the middle part of the map. Again, the position in which to engage the bunkers has changed. Now it's one at a time if he comes in from the natural entrance, which is the angle he's going to come in from.
Yep, and he's going to kill that very quickly. It drops instantly. The two Marauders inside die very, very quickly indeed. Again, Stalkers trying to push on up here. Marauders are going to engage.
I like that he's focusing the Vikings instead of the Marauders. A really sick move. This is going to allow the Colossus to start coming back into the fight. Oh, one of these Colossus so low. Will it finally go down? Oh, no, it will stand to see another day for the moment.
No, it's not. It is going to be alive. How much? 18 hit points on that one Colossus. Not able to kill it off.
14 kills, no less.
I didn't agree with sending all those Vikings all the way that far forward. I think he should have played it a little bit better on the high ground. But that being said, Desro looking really, really good. Death Row is in a little bit of trouble. He needs to continue to find a way to defend this a little bit better. And obviously needs a lot more Vikings to be able to take on any kind of a continued Colossus engagement. The Colossus are back there healing up their shields.
Yeah, this is the problem. It's only 2 medevacs for this whole bioarmy. He can't stop creating. Oh, if Desro could snipe that medevac, that would have been huge. But he can't stop making Vikings to make medevacs, and he needs medevacs. It's this really harsh catch-22. The SCVs are not pulled. The bunkers are not being repaired. One bunker is all that stands between Death Row and defeat. Can't he keep this alive?
We'll find out, and they're still working away on taking care of it. A lot of those units that were picked up in that drop, they were flying out, but they got sniped on the way out of there as well. One of the medevacs flies on out, but there's no units on the low ground here. Death Row desperately trying to hang on here, but gives a big GG. Desro is victorious. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is impressive, to say the least. Desro is going to advance, and Death Row, unfortunately, is going to pack his bags and go home. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think Death Row could have done, perhaps, maybe change that engagement, turn that game around, perhaps?
He wasn't aggressive, is the problem. As a champ player, you have to be aggressive. What did he do? He sent like 2 Reapers out across the field. That's not enough. That's nowhere near enough.
No, sorry to say it. And you saw...
Well, for the core of his opening, the reactor opening, did not like that for minute 1 in game 1. Did not like it for minute 1 in game 3, and we can see precisely why.
No, it's unfortunate. Perhaps it might work in the other tournaments he's played in, but not against an accomplished veteran like a Desro. Desro will advance through the losers bracket. He will have to play Jig next. And I think he's going to be prepared, but that being said, Jig, I was just speaking with him briefly. Jig, I think I'm going to say this eloquently, he is very confident. He is certain he can beat Desro. And we'll find out whether or not his bravado can back up, or rather his playstyle can back up his bravado. So that being said, we're going to run some commercials. I've got an interview lined up as well with a couple of different people. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a lot of games left to go. We have Desro versus Jig, as well as the victor of that will move on to play against Henderlisk in the final. Don't go anywhere. WCG Canada Finals, of course, with Rifkin joining me. We'll be back in just a moment.